Women's Movement Radio. Welcome to Women's Movement Radio Show. I'm your host, Janae Asen-Strauss. I would love to thank all of you for tuning in and listening to my show today. As always, I'll be speaking to women all around the world about their business, love, and lifestyle. I'm so excited to introduce our guest, Joy Valencia. She is a Los Angeles-based singer-songwriter who believes in following your passions. Hi, Joy. How are you?
Hi, Janae. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm so glad that you want to be on Women's Movement Radio Show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for asking me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Joy, I've listened to your music and I really like the artist that you are. How did you start singing and discover that this was a passion that you wanted to pursue?
Well, I remember the first time I discovered a microphone. It wasn't an actual microphone. It was this strange, plastic thing that took your voice and amplified it. But I was fascinated. In the beginning, it was all about singing. I wanted to be a singer. And so I learned to copy a bunch of people's singing styles. That's what kids do. Mm-hmm. I took voice lessons. I was in musicals and competitions and all that stuff. And at home, I used to play around, recording layers of my voice so I could have a whole group of me's singing harmonies. I was really into harmonies and vocals and group kind of vocals.
That's the funnest part, is it not?
Oh, yeah. That's so fun.
I remember being a little girl and dancing on my bed to Mariah Carey.
Yeah. I
just loved it.
Dancing around and singing in the mirror and dancing around the kitchen. Totally. But yeah, I also did a lot of performing. I was really into dancing and I took dance lessons and I performed in lots of dance recitals. But in junior high, there was this one day that changed everything. I think it was a chorus class, but they brought in this guy who had this synth and he showed you how one person could be an entire band using all the different sounds, and it just blew my mind because it showed me this whole different world of possibilities. So that really, I don't know if that triggered something that started me, to become more interested in making music. So not just singing. So I took piano lessons and then later guitar. And in high school, I started experimenting with songwriting because I knew that ultimately that's what I wanted to do. So I picked Berklee College of Music because it was the only school that I could find that had an actual major in songwriting, as opposed to some classical composition major. I don't know. Berklee is a very pop and jazz school, so I kind of like that.
And I definitely see how you would be interested in the arts. Your mom coming from you and I spoke about your mom prior, but being an artist herself and a makeup artist, that led the platform for all this creativity for you.
Yeah, I had some family members who were very artistic and always encouraged doing whatever it is that you like to do. My mom, being an artist and a makeup artist, and always, she was always on the crafty side of things, always creating. So I had that kind of an influence. And my grandma too, she was an artist. Both of my grandmas are artists too, but my mom's mom was an artist, and her mom, this is getting confusing, huh? Her mom she was a commissioned professional artist. So she just passed it down to her kids and stuff. But, so when I was at Berklee, though, I switched majors from songwriting because I fell in love with the studio world because, you get to do a lot of projects. They have recording studios there, and it's just really fun. And I just thought it was so cool, the whole production side of things. The thing that I love the most about that is how you can take all these elaborate ideas from your brain and just make them exist.
Well, I think for most people that are on the production side of things, it's just the power to create and see your masterpiece come to life, right?
Exactly.
Now, I was going to say to you, one of the things I found really interesting about you is that you're an independent artist, and you've actually made the choice of making a career beyond, in the world of the universal labels. So what did that alternative bring you from an artistic perspective?
The greatest part about not needing anyone like that is that you just have all the creative control. and it's perfect for someone like me because I want that creative control. That's the part that's exciting to me. So if I had somebody else, not that it's all bad, because it's not that I'm totally against labels. It's just that I'm focusing on doing things myself because I'm enjoying it this way. And I really want to see who I am right now before anyone else gets involved. I have a very clear vision of what I like to do and what I feel that my brand is. And I want to see the whole thing through and, come up with as much stuff as I can. But like I said, it's not like labels are evil or anything. It's just that it's a different time in music right now. You don't need this huge major label to make things happen for you.
I think that I'm living proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, like we have access to, reach so many people. And before, there was no way to do that. It was, you needed somebody. You needed somebody to discover you and like make you. And I don't know. And, I'm sure they have a hand in so many things. I interned at a record label when, actually I took some time off of school to do that. And I got to see what it was like back then from that perspective. And it was just, I don't know, disappointing to feel how corporate it was, I mean, it's a business. I get that it's a business, but to me, I still want to maintain the art and remind myself it's about the art.
Now, every musician has their inspiration, the people that have influenced them. And do you want to name a few of the artists that you've loved and loved?
Sure.
We've already talked about some of the people, or maybe I should.
Well, I have a top 5 that I just pretty much rattle off whenever anyone asks me. It's my top 5 all time. It doesn't mean that my music that I'm writing right now sounds like them, but Paul McCartney and the Beatles, of course. Michael Jackson, Joni Mitchell, Stevie Wonder, and Harry Nilsson. Those are my top 5. I love their songwriting. Their music, the way it makes me feel. And, I've probably spent most of my life, like most of my listening life, listening to their songs over and over and over and over and over because just of the way that it makes me feel. And if I like a song, I'll go to town on one song for like, I don't know, hours. Certain songs just really move you. And so you can't get enough of them.
Well, one of the reasons why I resonated with you is because you're kind of like me, in terms of your taste in music and just the level of diversity of some of the people, that you like you have a love for Henry Mancini, which some people don't even know who that is.
Yeah. Pink Panther stuff.
And it also goes from Henry Mancini all the way over to like Sly and the Family Stone. So that just shows to your depth and the level of diversification. And I find it so reflective in your music, because you really exude that combination of all things cool about music. You can't really be classified into one sort of category.
Well, the stuff that I'm really inspired by is a lot of my favorite stuff from the past. And when I was in high school, I realized that there was so much great music that I just wasn't alive for. So I started going back, and it almost became like a hobby to discover new, old music. And yeah, I don't know. It's like there was this oldies station that I loved in Chicago, and they would play mainly stuff from like the late 50s to mid 60s, and I fell in love with just the past. But I really love this band called The Association. And like the Fifth Dimension and the Zombies and Simon and Garfunkel. Ray Charles.
Simon and Garfunkel. Let's just start there. Let's just stop there.
Let's just start and stop there. We could just do a whole show.
Well, it's so funny because I tell people about my musical journey, and I did not, obviously Afro-Canadian, and a lot of my friends and family grew up listening to typical, Afro-Canadian or African-American music. I didn't have that experience. My real first exposure to music was one of my first albums happened to be from Phil Collins.
Oh yeah.
And when he was with with Genesis and him and what's the gentleman's name? The Sledgehammer guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Peter Gabriel.
Thank you. Peter Gabriel.
I was just listening to Sledgehammer last night. It's not on Spotify. That's the frustrating thing.
It is.
But you can see the video. That song is so great. It never gets old to me. I love it.
Now, one of the things that you and I we have so many similarities, and I love that. But you also are passionate about vegetables, and we're both vegan. So I want you to share, were you always a vegan, or did you transition somewhere?
When I moved to LA, I think like 6 months after that, we started to feel like we wanted to move in that direction. It was, I was reading this Russell Simmons book called Do You? Mm-hmm. He started talking about the chickens and how they're treated. And I think, and then I don't know if it was from his book or if it was from something else. Somebody was talking about, how what you eat, you're putting that energy into your body, and the energy of the suffering animal, the energy of, the person who killed it, those last moments of all that. I think that clicked with me. I didn't want to put that energy into my body, but it took about 6 months to go from vegetarian to vegan. I started checking out books like Skinny Bitch, of course, and it's a funny book that makes you think about how disgusting milk is and what eggs actually are, and just very raw talk about what it is that you're eating, because I think we should all be conscious of what we're actually putting in our mouths. But yeah, I feel really good not eating animals, because for me, the main thing is that I don't want to contribute to the culture of suffering. And I think that I'm not judging other people who are eating animals. So I'm not saying they're, causing all this terrible things. But for my life, I feel better when I know that I have nothing to do with that. Because I feel that every being can suffer. There was this quote, I think I just posted it the other day. It said, we shouldn't ask, I can't remember exactly what it is, but something like we shouldn't ask, like, can they think? Can they reason? We should be asking, can they suffer? And I don't think there's any denying that any being on the earth that can feel alive and breathe air is not suffering when it's in pain.
It's interesting that you say that, and you taught me something, because for me, the reasons becoming vegan had to do more with my health. I never even really, and I would say it's only now that I'm really exploring why I just don't want to, especially when you become conscious to what you are eating. Mm-hmm. At least that's my experience. Just don't want to. But I like the reasoning as to you don't want to be a part of suffering. And I really like, actually, that really strongly resonates with me, because that's really what it is when you are eating flesh and then you are taking that on. If we truly believe that we're all energy, why become a part of something that is that energy? Yeah. Yeah. I never even thought about that. I love that. That's great.
Oh, good. And the health too, though, that's huge. My mom is vegan now, and she's, as much as a compassionate, empathetic person she always was when I was growing up. She always cared about animals. She mainly decided to change for health, and it's enough reason on its own as well. I mean, it's, once we start learning more about what's in meat, it's a huge reason. And also the environment is a huge reason. I mean, there's so many reasons.
That's awesome. So Joy, where are you now, lovely lady? Where is Joy now?
Joy's in her kitchen, drinking coffee and eating a muffin.
I was going to say too, but where are you now, like in terms of where you're?
I'll tell you where I am. Right now, my whole house is practically a production studio. We have 2 recording studio rooms so that we can work in tandem. I'm talking about Alejandro Valencia, my husband, who I met in music school. So yeah, we work together, and we have mics set up in the upstairs hallway. We have some in the living room because we like the sound of the ceilings and everything. We've got a farfisa set up downstairs today because we're going to record that later. I got to record some acoustic guitars. We're going to record our Hammond M3, which happens to permanently be in the dining room because we had nowhere else to put it because we're running out of space because there's just so much gear that we keep bringing in. So yeah, the whole place is like a production studio. I also have like a little photo and video production studio here. Mm-hmm. I just recently invested in a green screen, a 9 by 10 foot green screen with a big stand and lighting and all that because I'm doing my own artwork for these songs.
Oh, so I'm getting your own artwork as well. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do.
You've taken all of those passions from your mommy.
Yes, I did. I definitely did. And I have what I have from my dad, I would say, is that he's a big DIY guy. He likes to do everything himself. He won't call a guy to do it. He will figure out, if something's broken, he'll just figure out whatever it is and he will do it himself. Like he came to my house and he put tile in a bunch of my rooms because he was just like, no, I want to do it. We can do it. So we did that together. So the combination of the two, I think, is really good for this new era of music in the arts. It's a great time for DIY and it's super fun to wear all the different hats. But
I think it's also, too, you had a great foundation because a lot of people, for those listening, you don't know this, that Joy's dad was a pilot. And, your mom is the creative aspect. So I think you have a good balance of someone that's a little bit more analytical, as well as someone that has a bit more of that creative flow. It's a great balance and exactly for where we are in this time and era.
Yeah, I think it's good for me because I know a lot of musicians that end up going to music school drop out because there's too much work involved. Because, part of it's art. And then the rest of it is work.
It's the other side of it. And a lot of people don't realize that it's the music business.
Yeah, it is a business.
The creative aspect is probably for most people the most fulfilling part of it. But it definitely is a music business. And I even think back to what you were saying. I didn't pursue my passion as a singer. I went down a different path. And I'm thankful that I didn't because as much as I loved music, I didn't believe it was. Now when I look back on it, I won't say it's not a passion of mine. It's not something that I'm not passionate about. But truthfully, where I'm happiest is doing exactly what I'm doing right now with women like yourself. So,
yeah, well, it comes across, definitely. I mean, that's what inspires other people.
Any last words for our listeners? Words of inspiration?
Yeah, I think if you're starting your own business or if you're on a road to hopefully success, I would say do it now. I think there's no better time to start your dreams. Don't put it off because life is short. And if it doesn't feel short to you, then you just haven't realized it yet. One of the biggest things for me is don't wait around for people to help you. That was huge for me because there was one day I just decided that I'm never going to want anything from anyone anymore. So it's, no more meeting people, hearing what they do and hoping they can further you in your career somehow. Release the expectation in all of that. Stop looking to others and look at your own two hands because there's so much you can do on your own. And it might take longer than you hoped, but you can totally do it. And because what happened with me is because I decided to do all this stuff on my own, I ended up growing in all these ways that I wouldn't have otherwise. So it's like, it's a blessing, like especially with the art. I really enjoy that part. So I ended up finding other parts of this whole thing that I love doing. And had I had someone else doing it for me, I never would have known that I can do this. But I really believe in focusing on the product because that's where the passion is. I think people should get caught up in the passion of it all. What makes you excited about your product. And I think that's the right energy to put into it. And it would be coming from the right place, not like an intention of money. Make your product amazing. I love, there's a Steve Martin quote that says, be so good they can't ignore you.
It's true.
And I kind of live by that. I love that.
Well, the truth is that the proof is in the music, right? And if you're and I think that's the reality with anything. I think that what you're saying in the beginning, you can lend it, that can go two ways. I definitely believe that if you don't move, the universe isn't not going to move. So you need to be proactive. I do believe in the art of collaboration. However, not waiting for collaboration to take place before you move. So
exactly.
And that's exactly what you were trying to, that's what you were saying in the beginning, is that a lot of people just, their movement on standby, hoping that, it's like the lottery. It's like, I can only be this way unless something happens. And that's just not the reality.
Yes.
You have to be proactive.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mean that you should that don't let anyone help you. It's just don't wait for people to help you. Because I think I come across a lot of people, and I used to be this way too, that it becomes an excuse, and then I end up complaining about, why this hasn't happened yet or why that hasn't happened yet. And, instead of focusing on, how can I get to the next step? Like, I think we should focus on the product. And if you're focusing on the product and you have all that good energy, it'll take you on the right road to put you in the place where you need to go.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew exactly what you meant. And that's just the journey that we, I think for those that are willing and those that are attuned to it will go down. Well, Joy, I want to thank you for being on Women's Movement Radio Show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.